Hello again, Union County. We are here for another installment of Uniquely Union to kind of bridge the gap between the last physical Heritage Festival that we had in 2019. We won't be able to have a physically present one this fall 2020. And in anticipation of the fall 2021, when we will once again be live in person. Until that time, we are going to use Uniquely Union to try to help bridge the gap to keep the Heritage Festival fresh in the memories of the minds of Union County. And today I have with me one of our Union County 4-H agents. And I'm going to butcher your name, I know. Ashley Victoria.
Alicia Victoria.
I don't know why. You should have been an Ashley.
Well, we have an Ashley. We have a great office. And Ashley Mike, I'll be honest, she is typically the face of our 4-H program because she's local and she's so well respected. The whole family is. And trust me, I would not be here today if Ashley had not been extremely supportive when I started this position.
Great. 4-H has had a presence in Union County longer than even I can remember. I don't know when it first started, but I'll tell you a little bit of what I remember about it. And then you can tell me the way it is now. How's that?
That sounds great. I love to hear the stories.
The first 4-H agent I remember was Miss Ann Hopp, H-O-B-T. In my mind as a kid, she was Miss Hop, like a bunny rabbit, H-O-B, you know. But I always dreaded having to do anything in front of Miss Hop, like give a speech or anything, because she always, at the end, you were required to say, are there any questions after a demonstration? She always had a question, and it was always a terribly hard question, I thought, too. I used to think she was doing that on purpose.
Well, every good judge has a good question.
She was great at it. And the first year 4-H started in 4th grade. So the agents then were Miss Hop and Mr. Julian. Now, Mr. Julian was a very, well, maybe not very, but an elderly man. He seemed very elderly to a 4th grader at the time. But they were the county agents, and they took time about. We would have one of them with us 1 month for meeting, and we used to practice. Practically every member of every class from 4th grade through the entire elementary school joined 4-H. You didn't have to, but 98% usually did. And we practiced over and over and over again, usually at least 3 times, our meeting. Great, great way to learn parliamentary procedure. And it was ingrained in us. We had several years of 3 or 4 times a month practicing, and then there was the actual meeting. And then Miss Hop retired, and I really don't remember who came in after that. And Mr. Julian retired first, and then Bill Morgan. His name will be familiar to most Union County students of the 70s and probably the 80s. He was the 4-H agent, and he was a very calm man. I mean, not every class we had, was really wonderful and receptive to 4-H. It depended on who your teacher was and how well that they insisted you prepare. But he never got excited and never lost his cool. You've met him, I'm sure.
Yes.
Fine man, pleasant man. And when I was teaching, 4-H was still in force, and we still practiced it as they did the old days. Most kids still joined it. This was 33 years ago. And by then, Miss Andre Vance, I don't know if you ever heard that name or not, but she was the agent. Mr. Morgan was still around. And but it was a presence, a strong presence, and it was pretty much expected that you join and you participate. And that's the short version of the then of it. You kind of take over and tell us what the now of it is. How does 4-H operate in Union County at present?
Sure, I'd love to. I appreciate you sharing because a lot of those things that you shared are very similar to how the clubs are now. I do just want to point out, though, that the fact that you remember the agent names and you remember all of those details from when you were in 4th grade. And I won't ask you how old you are.
55.
But,
I don't mind a bit telling you I'm a legal senior citizen now.
well, I think that speaks to the impact that 4-H has in the lives of youth. I mean,
Yes,
how
yes.
many of us can remember those specific details from that young? 4-H is something that really does stand out in the minds of youth. And even in some of the segments that have been filmed for this Heritage at Home series that we've put together, 4-H has been mentioned because it is a thread that weaves all of this together. And it's also something that is very important for youth. So, to talk about how 4-H is now in Union County, I'll say that I have been in the position for about 1.5 years now, so I'm very much still learning. But our Union County 4-H program is fantastic. I mean, in comparison to other counties, all counties that do 4-H have strengths. And there's always opportunities for us to grow and do better and learn and adapt as well. But our students really do go on to take advantage of opportunities outside of our county. We have students who go on to state level opportunities as well as national level opportunities. And so just like 4-H was a really important part of your life, it still is an important part of the lives of youth here in Union County. And we're very well supported by the community. There's always room for more support. I'll never say that there's not room for more volunteers.
Absolutely.
And more parent buy-in and more teachers and community members and businesses to just ask the questions about what is 4-H and what is the impact on the community. Because there's always room for more growth in that regard.
Sadly, one thing I can see, and it's just a sign of the times, it's nothing, that was planned, I don't think. But teaching standards have changed over the years, and standardized scores have become so focused upon and so important that 4-H, it just cannot have the presence it used to have in just the regular school program, I don't think. We had the leisure, to stop the world and practice 4-H half a day over and over and over if we wanted to. Now you've got to teach X amount of standards by such and such a date, or your students are not going to achieve to such and such a level on a standardized test. And I think that's one of the challenges you all probably have today, is just finding the actual time to fit into the regular school program.
Yeah, there's always challenges when we're trying to figure out what's best for the community. The school does a great job at trying to educate youth and meeting those standards. And so one of the ways that 4-H has adapted over the years, and I guess, part of the reason that you're referencing the now versus then, is that in response to that, the 4-H program in 4th grade is exploratory. It's very similar to what you described. Every month is a different topic related to agriculture and leadership and youth development and family and consumer sciences like money management and life skills. And so 4th graders get to explore all of that. And our program assistant, Miss Beth Bergeron, she is so passionate about her job.
And Miss Beth's been with us a few years
She
too.
has, yes. Yes, she does a fantastic job. And so we still have that model in 4th grade. 5th grade, we start to focus more on sciences to help meet school standards. And then we have a variety of lessons, 6th through 12th grade, where the state 4-H program, I have to say the state 4-H program in Tennessee, even though there have been changes, and when you compare the state of Tennessee 4-H program to other states, our program really is fantastic. I mean, they have taken lessons and they have developed them to meet the state standards so that we can still go into the classroom and help the teachers, and because we never want to be a burden to teachers or be in the way. And so in response to that, everyone's adapted, and we still are able to go in monthly with 4th and 5th grade. And as long as our office is fully staffed, we really do a good job of getting in monthly with 6th through 8th grade. With 6th through 8th grade, The lessons typically have a year-long theme, and we focus on things like health, nutrition, and even substance abuse prevention. We don't call it that necessarily. We call the program Health Rocks. And a lot of the elements are talking about leadership, good communication, learning about your community. I'll be honest, a lot of it is family and consumer science topics that students may not be getting at home. We're educating them on the things that a parent may not be having those conversations with them, and they may not have support in other aspects of their life. And so even though it's changed quite a bit, we're still very, very happy with the role that 4-H has in the middle school. Now, with high school, that's where students take on a little bit more responsibility to come to after-school clubs and be a part of our honor club, be a part of our monthly meetings, such as the sewing project group or the livestock project group. So in high school, we provide the opportunities, and we ask that students come to us to learn all of the skills and the leadership and communication and youth development that they can gain from 4-H. And we have success with that here in Union County. We really do, because at that point, students have the buy-in. And if we can get parent and community buy-in as well, which we do a very good job of in Union County, then by the time high school rolls around, the students are very encouraged and already a good, strong part of the program.
One of the things that 4-H in Union County has going for it is that my generation, we were so well steeped in it. I have never heard anybody ever say a negative word about 4-H as a worthless program and a waste of time. Never ever heard that. So I think that the tradition has carried on that 4-H is a very important component. And in my day, let me ask you this, in my day, every fourth grade homeroom had its own 4-H club. There'd be Miss Jones, Miss whoever. Is that still the way it's handled today?
Yes, essentially. Every fourth grade and fifth grade, those classes, even they have their club meetings monthly, and they even elect officers, such as secretary, president, vice president.
And do those secretaries still keep the minute book?
Yes.
Yes, that was an important component.
Yeah, and even there's some of the things that may be there that weren't there in the past. There's even an officer that's a community service officer who helps share service opportunities, and we often have a year-long service project that fourth and fifth graders and other grades as well can contribute to, and the service officer helps to remind them, hey, you know, for example, last year we did Coke tabs, and we donated those to the Ronald McDonald House in Knoxville, and we learned about some of the reasons why that's important, and we were even going to go select students from the winning school, because it was a competition between the schools. We were going to select members from the winning school to go help cook at Ronald McDonald House so that they could not only do this project throughout the year, but get involved in that project outside of the classroom. And unfortunately, we weren't able to do that because of COVID-19, which is very reasonable, but that's just an example of sort of how we structure our program. We want to reach every child, so we really put a lot of effort into our efforts in the classroom, but we know that there's the most impact when you can get youth involved outside the classroom, in our community clubs and our project groups. And so we really try to get parent buy-in and community support so that we can amp up that part of our program as well.
That's great. It's outstanding. Is there a lot of collaboration at the high school level between the, at least in my day, it was called the FFA program?
There is. There's still a lot of collaboration, especially with livestock and with the greenhouse programs. Now, again, there's always room for more collaboration, and we're always excited to have new ag teachers and also have ag teachers continue to work with us and support us. Typically, what we see in high school is that students participate in both 4-H and FFA. I think of it, and the University of Tennessee really does a good job of making sure that the community understands that youth development is not something that one project can do alone. So I've envisioned it, I'll tell you, this is sort of a side road to our path here, but I actually am familiar with 4-H through FFA because I was very participatory in FFA when I was in high school, but I couldn't do after school clubs when I was younger. I didn't have after school transportation. And so I missed out on all the great things that 4-H can do for youth. My first experience working with 4-H was actually at the fair. I was there working for FFA, but I got to see all the things that 4-H students were doing. They were doing service, they were putting entries into the fair, and I'll be honest, I had a friend who was also in FFA with me, and we were quite competitive with each other as we went through high school. We both wanted to be the first on the team, we both wanted to get those blue ribbons, and there's always got to be a second place, so
True.
That's okay. But I was very jealous of how much she got to do with 4-H and what she had gained from it that I didn't get. So when I started my job with Extension, I knew, I was like, I want to be a part of 4-H. And that helped to put me in this position where I'm a split agent and do family and consumer sciences and 4-H. So that's just sort of a side road to say that no organization can do youth development on their own. Youth need so much support. And so I really think of youth development here in Tennessee as sort of a 3-pillar image, where you've got the University of Tennessee because they do great things with youth development. But you also have 4-H on one side and you have FFA on the other side that really help to rise up youth. Because between the University of Tennessee, 4-H, and FFA, we're able to reach more students, reach more interests, and really they collaborate together so well. When you hit the collegiate level, when students graduate from high school and go on to college, those students don't talk about FFA versus 4-H. They're all in it together, and they're all in it to give back to the youth programs that they benefited from. So we work very well with FFA on a state level and a regional level, and here in the county, I think we do a great job as well.
One of the things that's interesting to me, and granted, I have only known 4-H agents within Union County, basically. As a matter of fact, I could not name you one from anywhere else. I have never experienced one that could even slightly be considered incompetent. They have all been very well versed in what they do. I think that's one of the strengths of 4-H. And I am assuming that there is a presence in every county in the state of Tennessee still.
There
4-H,
is.
right?
And that's another thing that sets our program apart from other states. Budget cuts always make people nervous because we see what happens in other states. But in Tennessee, we are very proud to say that we still have an extension office in every county of the state. And not only do you have an extension office, but through that extension office, the community has access to 4-H programming, agriculture program. The community has access to 4-H programming, agriculture programming, and family and consumer science programming, which is things like money management, health, nutrition, life skills. And so that extension office really is a place that you can go to have any question that you have answered. And what's even better is we have an office in every county, but we're also backed by the university and have state specialists who focus and specialize on every area of importance. There's a specialist for nutrition. There's a specialist for agriculture. There's a specialist for every part of agriculture, such as crop production and livestock. And so if we don't know the answers, we have a whole team of people that we can go to to ask specific questions and get support. So you have your county presence, but you also have the entire university that backs us. And it's just a great way to get good research-based information out in the community.
High level of organization.
Exactly.
Which one thing that's of interest to me is that high school vocational programs, which they undergo changes and change names. A few years ago, I believe that we lost our home economics class. Well, traditionally, home economics had been one of the places where you got a lot of the family and consumer science education at the high school level. So it's good that 4-H is still very active and very enforced to alleviate that.
Yeah, and that was before my time, so I can't speak to that whole process of what happened with home economics, but that's a trend we see nationwide.
Right.
But I think, COVID has had all kinds of negatives associated with it, but professionally I can say that the one, not necessarily a benefit, because I hate to say there's a benefit associated with this pandemic, but people are realizing the need for home economics and life skills education. And that's exactly what 4-H does. That's exactly what family and consumer science agents do. We have programs like On My Own where students learn about different jobs they might be interested in, but they also learn about taxes and what a paycheck looks like after those taxes and after those benefits and what having a family looks like when you get your paycheck. And there's a portion of that curriculum that runs a simulation where students have their paycheck and they have to make the decisions about which kind of house am I going to choose, what kind of childcare am I going to choose, what kind of car. And so they go around the room and they make these decisions and they log it on a register. And those are skills that most, I won't say most, but a lot of adults, even my age, don't know how to do those things.
Unfortunately, I realize that.
And so it's so cool to see the light bulbs. I mean, you can really see the light bulb when they're standing there trying to decide with their imaginary child, do I put them in the good daycare or do I get the good car? And they have to think through, both are important. Childcare is important, but a safe car is important too. And so those challenges that they're sort of imagining their way through, that's our job at the Extension office, is to help families through the challenges that we all face so that they can feel more empowered and they can feel like they're making the best decisions through the education that we provide.
Interesting that you pointed out, paraphrased, I think what you were saying a minute ago, is that good often comes from bad situations. COVID-19, I don't think anybody can reasonably call a good thing, but there are opportunities for good to come out of it. And it goes back to what Miss Byerly, Miss Toppins were talking about earlier. These previous epidemics that Miss Byerly talked about living through, people had their gardens to fall back on. They had their home canned goods to fall back on. Now, my wife wanted beets. I went to Food City to get some. There are no beets at Food City in Union County unless they've received a shipment since last, maybe Sunday. 100 years ago, that wouldn't have been a problem.
Well, that's because everybody's at home canning beets. Because the other thing you cannot find in Union County or Knox County or Claiborne County, you can't find canning jars anywhere right now.
Yes.
And that's great. That's so good that people are interested and that people are gardening and canning. But I'll tell you, my first thought is, I wonder if they learned how to do this from YouTube. And I wonder how good that video was, because we don't have root cellars like we used to, and it's just a different time than it used to be. And our produce most often comes from other places than our backyard. And so canning is one of those heritage arts that is still around and it's still very popular and gaining popularity. But again, that's part of our job in Extension, is to help educate people and help them to understand this is great that we're doing this. But if we follow the exact same process that our great-great-grandparents followed, our products may not be near as good, because it's just it's different living in different circumstances today than it was then.
And change is unavoidable.
It is, yeah.
And how has, this may be a kind of strange question, but it occurs to me because of my thought pattern here would probably be foreign to you, but here's the question. How has the prevalence of social media today impacted 4-H as best you can tell now compared to what I might have perceived 35 years ago?
Sure. So social media is a tool. So if you think of it as a tool, you can kind of figure out it can be very great or it can be very terrible. I mean, if you use a hammer to nail together boards, that's great. If you use it to smash in a window, not so
great.
much. So the first thing I'll say is we really try to incorporate social media and technology platforms into 4-H programming, because as a parent, I'll tell you, students need to learn how to use that tool.
Definitely.
And they need to learn how to use it in an appropriate way.
And that never became more obvious than in this recent COVID epidemic.
Exactly.
That resulted in a lot of distance learning in a lot of places that were not prepared for it.
Exactly. And I'll tell you, in the 4-H program, the state jumped right on it. Agents across the state, I mean, our office was closed for a period of time, but we never stopped working. Everyone in our office was working from home for a period of time, but we were still working with students. We were checking on students, calling families, and one of the most important things we were doing is from the very beginning we were adapting programming, because we had no idea if it was going to be 2 weeks or if it was going to be 2 months. I don't think any of us really imagined it would be this long, but we knew that every day that we waited on adapting programming to technology was just another day that we couldn't serve youth and we couldn't be a resource for the community. So everything, we just started adapting it. A lot of our summer camps and 4-H conferences that happen over the summer, we had to adapt them to virtual learning.
Right.
But I'll tell you, students are resilient. Youth, I think, have absorbed this impact fairly well. Now,
Better than a lot of us,
I was going to say, I won't ever say that there's not growing opportunities. And there are students that have probably been very negatively impacted just due to their circumstances. But that just shows us we need to work that much harder to reach all the youth in the county. Because I saw students take advantage of virtual opportunities where usually they may not be able to take a week out of the summer and go to a different part of the state. Even though we try very hard to encourage that, that's something that not every student can do, and not every student may be comfortable spending that time away from family.
That is true.
And so this summer we got to see students that typically only participate in our county level programming and our school level programming. They did state level events, and they did them virtually, but they did a fantastic job. There were students that participated in a virtual fashion show, and they took advantage of what was in their closets. They learned about clothing and design, and they put together outfits, took pictures, and sent them in. And we had winners in our county in different categories. And those winners never would have participated in a state event otherwise.
It's odd that it took an epidemic to kind of force the issue in lots of cases, isn't it?
It is, but I think it's been a great growing opportunity. And the other thing that we've seen is opportunities, or I guess inevitable skills that students would need, such as possibly doing a virtual interview. students have been taking advantage of that a whole lot younger than I ever would have imagined. I mean, we still have students run for office on the regional and state levels. And can you imagine doing an interview over Zoom? It's not easy.
It would be almost like Kennedy and Nixon having the first televised presidential debate, wouldn't it?
Man,
That was even before my time.
that was before my time for sure. But I'll tell you, there were students here in Union County who campaigned, talked with other youth all across the state, and were elected to regional and state level office positions through 4-H, all virtual.
That's great.
Students that have gone to those events before, but have never, have not done so many events that their name would be known across the state. I'll just say it. Everybody knows Kennedy Hill and Savannah Jones. They do a fantastic job, and they participate in 4-H, and many people across the state know their names. But we've seen some students whose names are not known across the state, like Caleb Hanna and Meredith Whitley, and so many others that I can't name. So I'm sorry to all of you guys, because you're so important to us. I can't possibly name everybody, but we've had officers elected, and they've done all the campaigning and everything virtually.
This is great.
Can you imagine what growth takes place in something like that?
And how unreal that would even have seemed maybe 5-10 years ago.
Exactly. But think about how that could translate to adult skills.
Yes.
I mean, you can interview for things in other states, other countries. I mean, we're talking about serious opportunities that now they're prepared for. And that's really what we try to do, is we try to prepare youth for every opportunity that they could possibly want, and provide opportunities for those that just need to have an opportunity to have.
And from what you've said and what I perceive, it seems like all of this change has been very positive, very low key. It's not like it's been smooth, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, we try to make it appear that way.
You've done a fine job with that, I think.
It's been a learning process for all of us, I'll tell you. But I think the one thing that I really am proud to say is that you've got a good extension team here in Union County.
And tell us who that team is.
Certainly.
Just to clarify for everybody.
So typically, people are familiar with the extension agent. I think that people can never stop learning everything that we do, because it really encompasses so much. But Shannon DeWitt is our adult agriculture agent.
And Shannon has been in the county several years.
Yes, about 10 years.
Very positive
actually.
person.
Yes. And I am the family and consumer science agent. And so that encompasses everything from money management, health, parenting, life skills, job skills. It really encompasses quite a bit. What I like to think of, because people ask me, what is family and consumer sciences? And even to this day, it's hard to describe. But what family and consumer sciences does through extension is we empower individuals and families to meet their goals and set goals through education.
And one good thing to point out here too that is not readily obvious, I don't think, to a lot of people. People sometimes think of 4-H as it's a school thing. It's a school program. But the resources you have are available to any resident of the county.
Yes, they are.
Any age, any family situation, whatever.
Yes. And so Shannon and I both, we do adult programming, and we do it in a variety of different ways through the community. Now, we pride ourselves on being able to partner with the community as well. So you may not always see Extension's name out there at the top of the headline, because we really pride ourselves on being able to partner with other organizations, because part of our job is to help those communities be successful as well. That's how we know if we're doing a good job. Now, since we have 2 agents in Union County, me and Shannon also split 4-H responsibility. So we do our adult programming as well as 4-H youth development. And I'll say a lot of extension offices in Tennessee have 3 agents, and they have an agent devoted to 4-H. But I think one of the things that we as employees don't always see as a strength, because it is very hard work, but we are forced to incorporate youth development into everything we do. I mean,
I think that's probably a very positive thing.
it is. You know, if I can step outside of my job for a minute, you know, it is a strength that we have and that we're able to manage
And
well.
another beauty of your program, whereas there would be those in other places that would sit around and whine and complain, we can't do this, there are only 2 of us. Other places have 3. You've made lemonade out of the lemons, haven't
Yeah,
you?
we roll with it.
And you've come up with the positives.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Just
great.
like this project, you know, it's part of my job as well as Shannon's job to work with Heritage Festival, because it's an important part of Union County. And we have to find ways to incorporate youth development into that, in addition to engaging adults and helping community organizations. And also a part of our office, we have Miss Beth. Everyone knows Miss Beth. If you have a 4th or a 5th grader, then you certainly have heard about Miss Beth. She is our program assistant, and she, again, not only helps with 4-H youth development, but she also is a key player in the farmers market here in
Yes,
Union
I think
County.
that's where most people would know Miss Beth from.
Exactly. I mean, she is there
Another
every
very
Saturday.
positive person.
Yes.
How long has Miss Beth been in Union County? Do you know?
I don't
It's
know.
been a few years, yeah.
I don't know.
But a very positive lady.
Yes, she's very, very positive. She's a workhorse. I mean, she really devotes herself to the program, and she's so passionate about it. And again, that's just more strength for our office and our team, because sometimes we need that extra push and crazy ideas to get us excited. And then Ashley Mike is the administrative assistant for the office. And I'll be honest, every time I have to say that, it hurts me a little inside, because I really feel like her job title should be the office. I mean, she really helps us to do our jobs more effectively. If it was not for her, we wouldn't be able to do near the amount that we can do, or with as much passion, because we would be very stressed about other things. She really goes above and beyond and does things that are outside of her job responsibilities, because she recognizes that it's better for our team. So, and I would be remiss if I didn't say that Shannon and Ashley have both had babies this summer. And so their families are
Congratulations,
growing.
ladies.
So their families are growing, and our office may have seemed a little dark the past couple months. Our office is open, and you can call us anytime with any questions. Shannon and Ashley will be returning from their maternity leave with their families as we get further into the fall.
Outstanding. And in closing, I will tell you one way that you realize programs exist lots of times and they just happen. They do their little things, and John Q. Public out there may not necessarily know what's going on. We were federally monitored about 5 years ago, maybe 4 to 5. And they have this list of questions, you know, how does your community do this? How does your community do that? What evidence do you have that your community does this? One of the places I went to gather evidence was to the 4-H Extension Office. And they gave me all kinds of evidence of this program went on, this event happened, and it's things that even I, didn't really realize that happened because I'm not directly involved in it. But outstanding program.
It is. We're very proud of it. And, I'll tell you, the best thing that anyone can do is just ask questions and ask, what are you doing and how can I help? Because, again, we could write articles after article. We could do so much to talk about all the great things we're doing, but that takes time from actually doing it.
Right.
And so the biggest thing that we need and that we really pride ourselves on having here in Union County is we've got community support. We need people out there talking about all the great things that we do and directing people to us when they have questions. The University of Tennessee Institute of Agriculture, their motto is real life solutions. And I'll tell you, extension agents come and go, and it takes a couple years for you to really gain footing in a county because there's always that skepticism of, will that person be around long term? And I just have to say personally, I can't speak for all extension agents, but I'm here to say in Union County, as long as they'll have me, because this job has helped me to figure out those real life solutions for things that I'm going through. I mean, I'm a mom, I'm a community member, I go through these things, and I learn just as much from the programming as the participants do. And what I found is, it's all very thorough. Just like you can come to us and get what the impact has been on the community. We report that to so many people. That's a very important part of the work. Being research-based so that we're sure we're giving good information, that's a very important part of the work. And so the great thing about that is that change is inevitable, but I get a first-hand opportunity to figure out how can I meet these changes. I'll tell you, if I was not working for Extension, I don't think I would have handled COVID nearly as I'm not going to say well, and I can't think of another word to describe
Let's
it.
say that it would have been much more difficult.
It would have been different, for sure. But it's given me the opportunity to really think about, what do I need? And we do needs assessments in the community to figure out how can we be most effective. And
Well, I will take this opportunity on behalf of Union County to say we are thrilled to have you. We hope you stay until you retire.
Well, I bought a house, so I'm not going anywhere.
And thank you for the fine job you do. And thank you for tuning in with us. And we hope you've enjoyed this installment of Uniquely Union, a series of interviews that highlights the wonderful people that make Union County the great place it is to live and work. I'm Ronnie Minson. Until next time, thank you.